So as we move into zero exponent, it says any number except 0 raised to the 0 power is defined as what number? Well, how can we figure this out? Let's check out a quick pattern. Let's look at 2 to the third power, which is the same as 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Let's check out 2 squared, which is the same as 2 times 2, which is 4. Let's check out 2 to the first power. What pattern are you noticing here with the answers? 8 divided by 2 is 4. So if we divide 4 by 2, what do we get? 2. So 2 to the first power is that number itself, and we know that because 2 to the first power says write that number as a factor only once. Alright, and now as we take a look at 2 to the 0 power, as they want us to discover here for the 0 exponent, if our pattern here for 2 to any power would be to divide all of those answers by 2 as we decrease, or as we go down, then what would be 2 divided by 2? 2 divided by 2 is 1. So anything to the 0 power is defined as 1. We can take another example as well, like 3 to the third power would be 27. 3 to the second power would be 9. 3 to the first power would be 3. So when we get down to 3 to 0, we can see a pattern here of divided by 3, because 27 divided by 3 is 9. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. So again, we can see that it's going to be defined as 1. So 1 to the 0 power is 1. 2 to the 0 power is 1. 3 to the 0 power is 1. Try 4 to the 0 power. If you guessed the answer, or if you knew the answer was 1, you're correct. And what about x to the 0 power? The answer is 1. Remember, x cannot be 0, however. Alright, so 1 for them all. Alright, now as we take a look at negative exponents, we can go back to this very same pattern up top. And if I wanted to write, if I'm looking at my exponents here, I had 2 to the third, 2 to the second power, 2 to the first power, and now 2 to the 0 power. If we continue on with that pattern, the next number, because I'm now decreasing by 1, the next exponent would be negative 1. Well, remember what our pattern was. Our pattern here was to divide each time we were going to divide the numbers by 2. So if our pattern was dividing by 2, then that means what is 1 divided by 2? Is what we end up with. Well, we can write that in fraction form as 1 divided by 2, correct? So we can write this out as 1/2, and I'm leaving it as a fraction because we're going to see a pattern later on, all right? Or we're going to discover what that rule is in just a second. All right, if we were to go on, the next exponent would be 2 to the negative second power. Well, guess what that means? That means our last answer, which is 1/2, divided by 2. Remember, when we divide fractions, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So this, or if you remember KCF, keep, change, flip, it's going to be 1/2 times the reciprocal of 2, which 2 as a fraction is 2 over 1. So what's the reciprocal of 2 over 1? Meaning flip it, we get 1/2. So it's the same as 1/2 times 1/2, giving us 1/4. So in this case, we end up with 1/4. So if you go back and take a look at 2 to the negative first power, it's really the same as 1 over 2 to the first power. And in the case of 2 to the negative second power, it's really the same as 1 over 2 to the second power, because 2 to the second power for our denominator will give us 4. So, negative exponent rule says x to the negative nth power. How can we write it? We can write it as 1 divided by x to the positive n. Remember, x cannot be 0. All right, let's take a look here. 5 to the negative second power. It's going to be the same as 1 over 5 to the second power. What is 5 to the second power? 25, so we end up with 1 over 25. For the next one, we have a negative exponent, negative 2, so remember we can write this as 1 over 8 to the positive second power, which is going to give us 1 over 8 times 8, which is the same as 1 over 64. Moving on to 9 to the negative first power is the same as 1 over 9 to the first, which is the same as 1 over 9. The next one is 4 to the negative 4, so that's the same as 1 over 4 to the positive fourth power. 4 times 4 is 16. And then 4 times 4 again is another 16. So 16 times 16 is going to give us 256. So 1 over 256. Moving forward, 10 to the negative third power is going to be the same as 1 over 10 to the third, which is 1 over, remember you can add this many zeros after the 1 for the 3. So the exponent is 3, so 1, 2, and 3 zeros. 2 to the negative 7th power is going to be 1 over 2 to the positive 7th power, which is the same as 1 over 128. The next one, number 21, is going to be 1 over 4 to the third times 1 over 7 to the first, which is going to give us 1 over 64 times 1 over 7, which is going to give us 1 over 448.